accumulation rule for yellow cards?
It's 5, right? And then you get suspended.
I think it has to be within a certain amount of games.
Because you'll have some get knocked off your record.
Right, because I feel like they sat Darwin this game because if he were to get a yellow card against Montreal, he would be suspended.
Okay,
but I feel like now if he were to get a yellow card, say, 3-4 weeks from now, I don't think he would tack on a suspension.
They drop off.
Yeah, I think it has to be within a window, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I
think that'd just be kind of lame to have accumulation hanging over your head if you've had 2 months of clean play.
Yeah, exactly right. Unlike parking tickets, right, Dave? They don't ever fall off, right?
No, they
right,
don't.
Dave?
No, they don't. Clean driving record.
Yeah. Don't you have one in North Dakota still?
I'm sure I do. I probably have them all over the country, actually.
From like 20 years ago.
Better memory than I do. But yeah, I think you're right.
So I guess my deal is I have no problem with it. I saw some people on Twitter saying, well, you should have included the guys that helped him get the goal. And I'm going, it's a spur-of-the-moment thing. You're not just going to hey, guys, come over here and hug me while we all celebrate.
Yeah. Not every celebration is well orchestrated.
Exactly
but
right.
I 100% loved it.
Yeah.
I think it shows how much it meant to him as a player because he's been on the Loons for the entire existence for them.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played a ton.
No, he hasn't.
His first year was great for the team we put on the field.
Yeah.
I think he arguably was the MVP of our first season. I know Chris Ramirez, I think, had 13, 14 goals the first year, but I think Molino was like 7 or 8 goals with 7 or 8 assists.
Yeah.
I think he was just overall the more consistent player, and he kind of had to play a role as a 10 where he was more comfortable on a wing. And then the second year, everyone was excited. I think the first game, San Jose, of course, he put 2 goals, almost got us a point, and then we saw nothing because he got injured. And so for him to come back now and have just an instant impact when he comes off the bench, 2 games in a row, and for Trinidad scoring, but I think it was just more of a, I'm back, I want to start for this club.
Yes.
And here I am.
And he has to fight for minutes now because we brought in so much talent in the offseason. He's got to now, he's not, in the beginning he was one of their top guys, but now you have so much talent on this team, a guy like him has to fight, and I think that kind of fed into that celebration. He's like,
right.
I'm here, I can do this. Give me more minutes,
Right. I agree.
But it put the icing on the cake of that victory, and we were all excited because, of course, it was the night before 4th of July, so we're all giddy, America, and then, all that type of stuff. So.
And then you look at the standings. I mean, I know Heath was tremendously excited after that game. You could see him, just his reaction. I know they stayed on the pitch a little bit longer than maybe they normally do, but for good reason. It was such if you're talking about MLS Western Conference play, that was a huge match because before the match started, San Jose was actually above Minnesota in the standings.
Yes.
And I think they were, undefeated in 10 or 11 games, whether win or draw, but
it
was close.
Yeah, it was.
But they kind of flew under the radar because of their first month being very poor.
I think
terrible.
They were definitely coming off. It was a 6-game unbeaten streak for San Jose. But they were on the rise. There's no doubt about it.
And it briefly brought us up to 4th place in the West.
It did.
I mean, very briefly because the next day Dallas took it back over. But you can't go wrong with the win.
No.
I think Adrian Heath had like a 30-inch vertical leap on Kevin Molino's goal. He came over and really riled the wall up after the game.
Yep.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I think that was the most excited I have ever seen Adrian Heath after a goal or a win. Like normally there's like a little fist bump celebration, but he was so happy, jumping around. Yeah. That was awesome to see.
Well, and it's Molino because that's his guy.
That is his guy.
He convinced Minnesota to get him. Yeah. And he's been all about Kevin Molino ever since Orlando, obviously. And, he's probably hoping this means that his work is going to continue to foster something successful.
So we get the victory. We now roll into Montreal and try to get a victory against Montreal, which was last night.
Okay, I'm going to point out we did not try to get a victory against
Well,
Montreal.
okay,
We were not going into Montreal to try to get a victory.
Well, let's talk about that.
with
Let's
that
talk about this
lineup.
just a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit because we'll talk about this after the break. But our lineup was completely different.
And
7 changes.
Yeah.
And it was their third game in a week, so
You expect changes, most definitely.
yeah, maybe not wholesale changes.
7 was incredible to me.
And you're fighting for a playoff spot. We talked about this last podcast of the what is it? 3 through 9 or 10 in the West. They're all jumbled up there.
Yeah, it's like point separation.
Yeah, so you're fighting for a playoff spot in the West. You cannot afford to lose a game against an Eastern Conference foe. You just can't.
There was changes that make sense. Like Griffin brought up, maybe Darwin Quintero, he had another yellow card against San Jose, so maybe that made sense. And then
Ike had a knock of some
he
kind.
banged up.
Yeah.
And so
which I'm sure if it wasn't, if it was at home, I'm sure there were circumstances where he would have been fine to play.
Right. Yeah.
But it was more just the goal of rotating.
Right. So, you look at it, and I thought, Mason Toy probably that was a well-deserved, his first start in MLS this year. I know he started a game last year, but had a red card. Actually, it didn't go well.
Right.
So you were kind of hoping this would be a little better. But I think, regardless of what happened last year, Toy probably deserved a start, and there was other changes that maybe made sense. But it's tough, when you can maybe. You want to look at the depth that this team had, and that's what some people will say, well, we need to look at the depth, we need to test it. Well, plugging a player here or there, that's one thing to test your depth, but to bring in 7, and that now you're testing the cohesiveness of a new group trying to play together. So
it was literally a B squad.
It's
the definition of a B squad.
Let's get to the game.
Yeah, specifically.
Because we were texting back and forth, 3 of us, and we're going, what the heck is going on here? Why is this happening? And Montreal comes out and
30 seconds.
A goal in 30 seconds.
27.
Yeah.
27. Sorry, my bad.
Who gets the blame for that one? I think a couple people said Gasper just completely misread the pass. Coleman had the last good look to try to cut him off.
I blame Kelman. I've always been hard on Kelman, but I blame him. Gasper, no one was awake during that. I think it was Jeff Reuters said this morning that it was almost like they never even heard the whistle blow.
I believe it.
And that's the way it looked.
Yeah.
So, you could blame Gasper, you could blame Kelman. I seriously can't say that you could blame Vito because the guy didn't even know what was happening by the time the ball was in the back of the net. He's like, what the hell did you guys do?
But I think after that first goal, I think we're all going, well, this squad that we've got on the pitch right now, what are we expecting right now?
Right. And I would like to point out on Twitter, I said something about the PK, which we'll talk about, and I explained myself, and the guy said that I was Debbie Downer. He actually posted the
I saw
SNL
that, yeah.
Debbie Downer GIF, and I responded, I'm like, yeah, David's the pessimist of the group.
Yeah,
definitely Debbie Downer. And my entire first half, my notes, every single one is just negative.
Yeah.
Like the entire thing is just negative. And it changed. I will be fully willing to admit the second half changed.
Yeah.
But the first half, I cannot pick out a positive thing that I really want to talk about. I thought Colin Martin was just disaster. Mm-hmm. I felt like Schuler was a kind of that same thing. I can't remember what game it was. Mm-hmm. You called him
I call him a robot.
And his head was like spinning around.
His head, yeah.
I just felt like he had no idea. There was no cohesiveness with the midfield at all. Yeah. They had no idea what they were doing. I believe that Schuler and Martin were switching sides routinely, and it was a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And every single note I have, it was negative.
To me, it looked like, again, you're putting 7 new guys on the pitch. It looked like, of course, there's no communication. They don't know what this guy's doing or what this guy's doing. Again, Schuler looks like a robot when he's in those situations. He just can't think freely. It's like he's just gets the ball, and it's like, I'm just robotic. I just do this. That's like he has no creativity when he gets the ball. And I guess that's what I expected because of what we started with. You know,
Yeah. I mean, if you turn the broadcast on late, you would have missed a lot. A lot happened in the first 15 minutes, good and
Yeah.
bad. So I mean, I kind of like had it.
Right.
You couldn't think of anything positive that happened. Well, I mean, there was one thing at least in the early stages for
Toy,
in the
yes.
ninth minute. It was
Yeah.
considering how poor they started out. I mean, to see Toy score his second goal, MLS goal that is, but
And I think that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was against the run of play. Molino just throws that ball up in the air. And I think post-game they were interviewing Toy, and he said that he and Molino talked, and that Molino just said, play off the back shoulder, and I will get you the ball.
Sure.
And Toy said, I did that for both goals, and Molino found him with 2 great passes. I will say, when that ball was up in the air coming towards Toy, I was like, he's going to make a mess of this. It's perfect. He's going to have to make a touch, and it's going to go out. He's not going to do
Yeah.
it. But
How
I think
was that
when-
touch?
Went off his knee right to the ground. Perfect. And you're like, well,
Yep.
that was a one-time thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get to it later. But
Yeah,
the fact that he was able to do it twice.
Yep.
Consistently, and the second one was arguably better than the first.
Yeah.
Well, and I saw somebody on Twitter, and I would love to credit them. I can't remember who it was. They mentioned that there was almost an identical play with Molino and Christian Ramirez back. I don't know if it was even 17 or 18, where they were playing that exact same thing. Molino's saying off the back shoulder, puts it down, and Christian got a goal. I don't remember who it was. I was looking for it earlier today. I couldn't find it. I think he had posted on Twitter last night or early this morning. But it's interesting that that's the type of, if that's the case, it's the type of leader you want,
Yeah.
who's communicating with his strikers and saying, hey, this is how I'm going to play. This is what you should be doing. If you want to score a goal off of me, back shoulder. I mean, that communication's incredible. I've always thought that Kevin was a good selection of ours. He's been injury prone. Maybe he's got a few more years where he can really do something in that leadership type role in the offense. Because we've got it in the defense
We
right
do.
now.
For now.
So we still need something in the offense.
But we get the goal from
I was still off the couch celebrating
Yes.
Toy's goal.
Yes.
When
they come back
I think it was 4 minutes
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
in the 13th minute, they had a corner kick, I believe,
Yeah.
and then I think it was Camacho. Sorry if I bungled that pronunciation, but they scored again. So quickly take the air out of the sails or wind out of the sails,
Yeah.
and now it's back to 2-1. You're down on the road early in the first half. You just have that same feeling that you had 27 seconds into the game. So
And you-
And
Go ahead.
Griffin, who do you put blame on for that goal?
I know we're bad on set pieces, but that seemed kind of like a fluke. If that had happened to any other team, they would have been like, oh, well, that's a fluke. But because we're so known for being so bad on free
Right.
kicks and corners, I think that was why we needed to assign blame.
And and for me, my notes say that Kelman left the space and Schuler let him in, and it was true. Like Schuler just kind of watched, and you can literally see Schuler watch him run past him, and then Kelman wasn't really even paying attention.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's so Minnesota United to give up a goal on a set piece.
It is, and again, we're on the road. 7 new guys in the lineup. Now we're down by 1 again, and you're going, well, it's just par for the course. There's no way our guys are going to come back from this because they've already proven they can't, So we rock close to the end of the first half, and then we get the Finley penalty kick that people
It wasn't a PK.
you don't think it was.
There's a lot of people who do, though. And I'm going to sit here and say, I mean, maybe I can't interpret the rules well enough to make a good decision, yes or no. But
I
certainly
can
have
make an
opinion.
argument that it was,
Well, let's hear it.
but I don't think it was.
Okay.
Let's
So-
hear why you don't think it was, I guess.
I don't think it was because Finley took that little flick to the left. There's no way in hell he's getting that ball.
Yeah.
You've got 2 defenders coming in, and I don't remember who they were. Number 5 was the closest. I just don't think he's doing it. He completely played himself out of possession. Another argument I can make is there's a chance that Finley charged the goalkeeper. I mean, I think he knew what he was doing. Bush set himself up, and Finley just ran right at him, hoping there'd be contact. That's also against it.